Yo, what is up? It's me, the Concrete Yogi. What's up, YouTube? What's up, Instagram? I don't know why I said that, but what is up, Facebook? I'll just throw that out there too. I'm on those three entities. I am the Concrete Yogi. My name is Dominic Napa, and I am coming with you today with a little bit of a recap. We're going to explore the couple things that I have touched on in the last few episodes. Last episode, I kind of introduced the idea behind the Concrete Yogi as a whole, and now I want to bring it full circle and get the ball rolling once again. We're going to do a little bit of sutra talk today. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of the practice and the text, and yeah, all right, let's get right into it. So, Concrete Yogi, strong body, strong mind. We want to always remember the philosophy behind the practice, and I'm going to talk to you today about just that. The Yoga Sutras in particular, written by Patanjali. His first sutra is Atha Yoga Nushasanam. Atha is now. Atha means now, and it's a very good now. It's a relief kind of now begins. Because the practice, even when Patanjali wrote the text, the practice had already been around, the practice had already been taught, the practice had already been explained. Certain aspects of the practice had been described. When I say certain aspects, I actually mean the philosophy behind the practice had been described in other texts known as sutras. Now, knowing what sutra means is of course very important, and I touched on it briefly in another episode. Sutra means thread, and to weave ideas together. A sutra in and of itself is a very powerful statement, but when woven together, the message is even more powerful. So as we break down each one, remember that they can stand alone on their own, or when they combine and are understood one after the other in a very eloquent and very scientific way, then the truth of the practice and the real meaning behind the words comes out. Before I go any further, Sanskrit means the refined language. And knowing that it means the refined language, we got to remember that it doesn't have direct translations. These words aren't going to be directly correlating to the English language as we know it. It's going to have very vague or convoluted meanings behind it, and it's up to us to do the research, to put the pieces together. Now, I'm not here to tell you that I am some Swami. I'm not a master philosopher. I am here to tell you that I can give you my perspective, and I think that it's a little bit different. I think that it's a little bit, it's a little unique, and it's a good way to find the word yoga as union, to be joining all of these different philosophical ideas, spiritual ideas, ways of life, ways of looking at things, and kind of being open-minded to all of them. I really pride myself in being an open-minded person. Atha, now, Atha. So, let me start by saying this. Again, there's a few things you gotta know before we even jump in. If we just jump in blind, then you are immediately asking for failure in anything in life. You need the knowledge to back it up. So, we gotta always remember this. There's gonna be suffering in life. There's gonna be suffering in life, and some people take it harder than others. Some people go through much more than others. Remember that your perspective is the thing that creates your understanding of suffering. So what you've gone through might seem like a lot to you, but to someone else, it might just be, that could be a heavenly life for them. So always remember that. Knowing that we go through the suffering, there's all these different ways I talked about in the other episodes of how to get over them. It's when you finally decide that you want to get over them because you've understood that nothing else has been working. Or maybe you just want a little bit of introspection into why something is working, then you can approach the text known as the Yoga Sutras. Patanjali describes it because it is a sadhana. It is a practice. It needs to be practiced. Knowing the philosophy, just like knowing a recipe, will not get you any results. It's by combining the recipe, it's by putting the pieces together, and then that's when the results show. So knowing the philosophy, which I'll go over briefly here, is one thing, but without putting it into practice, it doesn't bear you any fruits. So Patanjali made that a very clear-cut point by naming it Yoga Sutra. Every sutra begins with Atha and ends with Iti. So it means now this begins and thus it has been, or now that ends, a way to wrap it up. Again, there's not direct translation, so I am not a Sanskrit master. I have studied a lot, and I'm going to continue to study. Know that about me. It does not stop. So what I tell you today, if something sounds a little wrong, and I'm sure this can reach such a wide array of people. I love that I could touch such a wide array of people, and knowing that there's going to be people that know more than me. I accept that. I know what I know. I know what I don't know. So that just makes me who I am. The great man Socrates, the great philosopher, once said, a true wise man knows that he truly knows nothing, or something like that. But you get the drift. You don't know anything, and when you start thinking that you know everything, something very dangerous happens. Not only do you judge the external world around you, and you constantly are in judgment and belief that your way is right and others are wrong, but what really starts to happen, even worse, is you become even more self-judgmental. The suffering that everyone could go through, the suffering that has happened in your life, becomes such a heavier burden. And this heavier burden is something that you will continue to feel until you decide enough is enough. What I've been doing doesn't feel right. What I've been taught hasn't worked. Maybe it just hasn't been approached properly. Maybe it just hasn't been practiced properly. And thus, Atha Yoga Anushasana. Not the physical posturing. It doesn't mean you start doing splits. It doesn't mean that every day, you start doing sun salutations. Yes, it will help, and that's a great connection, the mind to the body, that we will gain. But the thing that you have to remember is the freedom of the suffering. That is the yoga. That is the yoga. The yoga isn't the posturing. I'm going to be going over all of this, but I'll just briefly describe what I mean there. There's 8 limbs of yoga described by Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras. Yama Niyama, Asana Pranayama, Pratyahara Dharanha, Dhyana Samadhi. Okay? Ashtangaha, Yogaha. Alright? So, those 8 limbs aren't postures. Asana is the posture, and that's one of the 8 limbs. It's one of the 8 steps. Each step has to be taken. If you decide to skip a step, you're going to fall. The foundation underneath you, the concrete underneath you, isn't sturdy, and you're going to stumble. This stumbling can be controlled, it can be observed, it can be analyzed. And I'm here to tell you, I know because I do. Like I said, I'm not a Swami, I'm no enlightened being, I'm not a Buddha, alright? I'm not a saint. No way. No way. I'm nowhere close. No way. But I'm working. I'm practicing. I'm practicing positivity. I'm practicing spreading love, a message of peace, self-reliance, independence, freedom from suffering. If what I can say can resonate even with one person, I will be so pleased. I will feel so blessed to have these outlets. But it all starts with the actual practice. If I sit here and I talk about yoga every day and some of it resonates with you, if you don't take the practice into action, it's just as not understanding the practice before the philosophy, or after the philosophy, rather, putting it into action. It is to no avail. There is no use. My words are wasted. They fall on deaf ears. You've heard these things. Now, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Think about that. Think about that. There's only so many days in this life. Mortality is something that no one wants to talk about. It's such a morbid topic. We'd rather focus on the suffering of others and the victims in the civilization. But really, we should remember that we only get this one life to live, and what we focus on is up to us to decide. So when you decide to detach from the suffering, detach from the victimization, self or otherwise, detach from the gossip, the drama, the negativity, when you decide that you want peace, that you want freedom, Atha Yoga Anushasana, that is when the practice starts. Yoga, up for you, yoga hasn't existed yet. Yoga hasn't existed yet. Yeah, you've known of the asanas, you've seen the postures on Instagram, you've seen these things that people make impossible. make look impossible. But that's not the yoga. The yoga for you hasn't started yet until you decide you want to change. The mental change brings about a physical change because you recognize that this is the one body you're given, and it is a gift, and it is truly a miracle. The mind, the body, healthy, strong, like concrete. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Remember, peace, blessings, and much love to you. I'm actually going to leave you here today with a little bit of what I get to leave my daily practice at. I practice at the Shala on Hollywood Beach in South Florida. And, I mean, just enjoy. Have a great day. Love you all.